cooking. Yes, indeed, we're cooking. You and me, we're cooking. Cooking with Chef D.
So custard, a little bit of history here on custard with Chef D is when I was in high school, one of the teachers was a French teacher, and he always kind of incorporated some different meals into the learning of the language. And I've never learned how to speak French, but he always included me in with the group to go to a different restaurant. And the restaurant that we went to was the Brittany. And this is way, way back, and maybe some of you viewers might remember that restaurant. And I had the first time I ever had creme brulee. And that silky smooth custard with that burnt sugar on top, I was hooked for life. And still am to this day, you know, when you can get an amazing custard. And custard starts off as, like I just mentioned, as a creme brulee, but you can also make it a pot of cream. A custard can be turned into ice cream. You know, a custard can be made with coconut milk and some avocado sometimes. You can use gelatin to thicken it, but most traditional custards are thickened with egg yolks. There's a science to that, but we'll get to that another time. Welcome to At Home with Chef D, with me, Chef D, out here at the studio kitchen in Puslinch, where today it's about desserts. And specifically, it's about making custard. And that custard that makes creme brulee, that makes key lime pie, that makes a vanilla panna cotta. So today, we're gonna start off and we're gonna make 3 different ones for you. The first one that I'm doing is going to be a key lime pie. And that from the south, it's absolutely fantastic, again, using milk and eggs, but the milk is actually a sweetened condensed milk. So I remember being in Mexico, and we actually did a cooking class down in Mexico, and I asked the chef there, why do you use sweet condensed milk, and why do you use evaporated milk? It goes, because don't forget, we didn't have refrigeration growing up in some of the places in Mexico, or even in Texas, or even in the lower parts of Florida years ago when these recipes all came about. So hence, that's why they do that. It keeps everything healthy and that. So in my pan, we have some butter, and we're just melting this down. Now this is a 1/4 cup of butter, and I have 1 cup of graham cracker crumbs. And yes, these are the store-bought crumbs, but you can make your own crumbs if you like. We're just gonna melt that butter down. Now, if you want a crispier crumb, add a little bit more butter, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I don't add any sugar at all to this. Now, I know some people will add sugar to their graham cracker crumbs. I really think there's enough sugar and sweetness in the sweetened condensed milk that you don't need any more. So then, on low, we're just going to slowly incorporate the graham cracker to the butter. And you can just start seeing how that all comes together really nicely. And it just, again, just nicely coated. And if you like it with a little bit more butter and make it a little bit more crispy, you can do that. And the other thing that you can also do is once we put it into the jars or ramekins or into a 9-inch pan, is you could actually put the graham crackers into the oven and then again, just toast them off a little bit more. I find that step is a little bit too much, so you really don't need to do that. So we're going to now finish this up, and you can just see, I can turn my heat off. And just let that cool for a second. And we're going to take this, bring it over to our ramekins. We're just gonna fill them up. Now, if you like lots of graham crackers, you can put more in. I usually like going up about 1/4 of the way on my ramekin, or as in this case, a mason jar. And then we're just going to give it a little shake like so. You'll see a little bit more, if any needs any. So now we have our ramekins or mason jars with our graham cracker crumbs, a little bit of butter in them. How do we make the key lime filling custard? So what I have here is I have 4 eggs. They're going to go into our mixing bowl. I have the zest of 3 limes. Now, you're going to use the limes again, so you just want to take a little bit of the zest off. You don't want to go into the pith. Once you hit the pith, it's really, really bitter and you don't want that. So grab a spatula. And that goes. And I know it's named key lime because it's after the key lime, but there's times we can't get key limes up here. We have limes all the time. You can use limes. I'm going to use the juice of 8 limes. Our kitchen is going to smell great with all that limes. If you're, worried for your family that you don't want to have raw eggs in your diet, and I totally understand that, is that you can get those egg beaters or those pasteurized eggs at any grocery store and just put the equivalent of 4 eggs in, and it will make, if that makes, much better peace of mind for you, go for it. So we're just going to continue just juicing our limes here. Get all that great juice out. Smell-O-Vision 2019 ChefD patent. I know what's coming. My cameraman is going, not a chance, chef. Okay, one more. And then I have 3 cans of sweetened condensed milk. There's a whole bunch of different varieties out there, brands, whatever you like, go for it. Yes, it's sweet, but again, the fat content in it's very low. I think the milk in the sweetened condensed milk is between 1 and 2%. Last can in. Okay, little confession here. Years ago when I was a kid, I used to go over to my grandmother's house. She'd serve us sweetened condensed milk on toast. I know, you should try it. It tastes amazing. So we're gonna come over here to our mixer. Important lesson here is that you wanna start this off nice and slow. You don't want to start it off very high. So you want to go on 1, just so it starts incorporating in. And this is going to take about 2 minutes to do. Again, don't rush it, because if you rush it, you're going to wear it, and it's not a nice wear. Slowly bring it up. I'm going to take this over to our ramekins, so follow me with the ramekins. That's why I didn't throw my cans in recycling just yet. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put it into each of the ramekins. These are 10-ounce ramekins, and it makes about 8 desserts. Again, if you have a smaller ramekin, just make some more. And those of you who've been watching for a while know how big my sweet tooth is, so I have to make sure it's okay. Now from here, we're gonna put it in the oven for 3 minutes and just kind of let everything set, and then we'll bring it out and we'll put it in the refrigerator. So we're gonna take it from here, we're gonna go to our oven. It can just be on 350 regular, you don't have to put it on convection. In it goes. 3 minutes later, it comes out and it'll be absolutely perfect. It's been 3 minutes, we've taken them out of the oven. Now we're gonna put them in the refrigerator, and you can refrigerate these. It can be up to into 3 days. Any more than that, the graham cracker crust gets a little bit soggy underneath, but in they go. The great thing about making this dessert, you can make it ahead of time, so then when we do have your dinner party, it's not that big of a deal.
Cooking with Chef D.
So now the two other custards that we're going to do is the traditional one, and that's the creme brulee or pot of cream. And a pot of cream is just the basis of the creme brulee. We're just not going to burn the sugar on top of it. So what we're going to do, we're starting with, now there's many different schools of thought here. You can go any way you like it. If you want it a little bit more low fat for you, you could use some 3% or homogenized milk. What I like doing is taking some 35% milk, so I take 2 cups of 35% and 2 of 10% cream and make it together. So you still have that rich fat that you're looking for. We're going to warm the milk up or scald it in our pot. About medium high. While we're doing that, we're just going to warm up our water because we're going to actually have to cook it and bake it in a water bath. That way it doesn't turn into, you know, like those flourless chocolate cakes. If you didn't have the water bath, that's how it would end up. It would start baking and drying out, and you don't want that. So we're just going to have our spatula here while we're doing that. And we're going to let this warm up before we add the chocolate to it. Now, you can add the chocolate to it earlier. I find that the chocolate doesn't burn on the bottom if you heat and scald the cream and it could be cream and or milk. So while we're waiting to do that, the last one that we're going to do is a coconut milk panna cotta. So what we're going to take is we're going to take a 1/4 cup of vanilla, about 1/3 cup of sugar, and then just the last little bit I'm going to put in with my other custard. We're going to turn our burner on. Incorporate the sugar in and the vanilla together and just warm that up just until the sugar starts melting. And then I have 2 tins of coconut milk. Now, you want to have a fuller fat coconut milk, so you want to spend a little bit more money on your coconut milk. Gonna stir that in. And what we're going to do is we're just going to warm it up just till it starts to, just before it boils. And as it gets hotter, what we have here, now you can use the gelatin or you can use packaged gelatin, whatever you like, you know, wherever you're more comfortable with. This is really easy. It's really 1 package of powdered gelatin to 2 cups of liquid. So we have about 4 cups in here, so we're going to slowly incorporate that in. One more. Now, if you wanted to, you could add some fruit, some mango puree. You could add some pistachios. Wherever you want to go with this panna cotta, it can be anything. You could add a little bit of, make it with like grapefruit, and you can make it with orange, you know. Experiment with it because it tastes really great. And yeah, it's just a really simple, easy dessert, and it doesn't take much. So now we're just going to let, like I said to you, just kind of bring it up just before that boiling point, and you can start seeing in our cream that it's starting to warm up. We're going to get some steam off it in just a minute or so. Oh yeah. Kind of multitasking today at the studio kitchen. I like using a whisk. If you'd like to use a spoon or a spatula, you know, go for it when you like it. Just start seeing it's starting to warm up. Now, I have the equivalent of 300 grams of chocolate. And we're just going to Stir that in. And again, you want to keep stirring so that your chocolate doesn't stick on the bottom and doesn't scorch. You know, there's a lot of other bad things in this world, but you know, burnt chocolate is pretty much up there. And it doesn't take long for your chocolate to melt in. And it's just going to go that rich, deep color that we're looking for. And if you want to experiment again with this too, put a little bit of instant coffee in. It just heightens the flavor. Coffee and chocolate, match made in heaven. Or even taking a little bit of your coffee from your coffee cup and putting it in works really well. I'm just going to turn this down a little bit because I'm going to come back to that. But you can start seeing that the bubbles are starting to form on the outside of our coconut milk panna cotta. And what we want to do here is we're almost ready to take it off the heat, because what you want to do is actually melt in the gelatin so that it clings to the coconut milk. Then that will make a beautiful panna cotta for you. So while we're doing that, we have some ramekins. Again, I'm using the mason jar. I love using the mason jar. They're really funky, they're kind of cool, and they work very well. But you can use any other jar that you have or bowl at home, which works really nicely. Getting that nice heat going, stirring in the last little bit of our chocolate into our cream here. Now what I have here, I found this works so well, a little trick of the trade. Dollar store little water jug works really beautifully on pouring in, because if you're going to try and pour sometimes from the pot, it makes a mess and you don't want that. So just pour this into your water jug. Really nice and easy. And you're going to pour these into the ramekins, and they have that perfect line there that you can just go right up to the line. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the refrigerator. It'll probably take 2 to 3 hours to set. And then we're going to serve it with a blueberry coulis. And it makes 9 8-ounce ramekin panna cottas. So we're going to take this to the refrigerator, and then we're going to finish up and make our pot of cream.
Cooking with ChefD.
So we have our chocolate, which is in the scalded milk, which is melted just beautifully. And now, so remember I said to you it's 4 cups of cream, 300 grams of chocolate, and it can be, I use the 75% chocolate. I put just a little bit of sugar in because I like the bitterness of the chocolate. And now 12 egg yolks. 12 egg yolks, 4 cups of cream. If you're doing straight a vanilla one, it works perfect all the time. So these egg yolks, we're going to slowly incorporate in our chocolate. You don't want to go too fast so you don't scramble the eggs. Again, just incorporating all that beautiful chocolate and egg mixture. Getting the last of it together. Now, again, taking our dollar store water jug. And this makes 12 8-ounce ramekin desserts. You can see how easy this is. This does not take a lot of effort other than just, making sure that you don't burn your milk and your chocolate. But this is so easy. I know, you're saying it, I'm a chef, but you know what I'm saying. Want a little secret? You can always tell people it's really hard. You spent all day in the kitchen making this. They'll love it that much more. Three-quarters way up, and we're good to go. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you want to have the boiling water. You want to add the water to the pan, bring it about halfway up the ramekins. We're going to grab some foil, and from here we're going to take it to the oven, 350 degrees, convection bake. We're going to time it for 21 minutes. We'll bring it out, and when you shake it, it should shake like jiggle like jello. I know that's not a cooking term, but that's the way it works. And then you know it's set. You put it in the refrigerator after that for about 4 hours, let it chill, and you have a perfect dessert. So come with me to the oven. Add a timer. And away we go. In 21 minutes, beautiful dessert. So in that time, while we're waiting for that to happen, we'll just tidy this over. We're going to turn up our heat. I have 2 cups of blueberries. Now, they can be frozen, they can be fresh, wherever you want to go with this. This is going to make our blueberry coulis. We're going to take 3/4 cup of sugar. Our heat-resistant spatula, we're going to stir this in, warm the sugar up so it starts to melt. Your blueberries are going to melt into this beautifully. And as the blueberries start warming out, the juices start pouring out of the blueberry. And as you saw on our last season, when we were at Blue Horizon and we were talking with the farmer there, she was mentioning that later in the season, the blueberries have more pectin in them, so it makes a better sauce for your better coulis or even a better jam. So if you can, and if you have them, great. If not, you can buy frozen ones year-round. And you just start seeing the sugar starting to melt. Stir it all together. As soon as the sugar is all melted, we're going to reduce the heat down just a little bit. It's almost there. You can just start seeing how the blueberries are starting to give up their juice. Turn it down to about medium-high, just a little bit under, and in a couple minutes, you're going to have an amazing blueberry coulis. We have our key lime pie, we have our chocolate pots of cream, we have our coconut milk panna cotta, and we have a blueberry coulis that I put on our coconut milk panna cotta. As you saw how easy it was to make.
Thanks, I'm gonna have these at my party.
We maybe should have checked the neighborhood before we moved in here. Hey, till next time, I'm Chef D. Won't you join me here at the kitchen studio where we're making a whole bunch of neat and exciting things. Look at that. If you want to, you can turn them over halfway through the cooking process. We're not going to look at it for about 2 hours. The whole house is going to smell amazing. The meat's going to be tender. Hi, who's that?